Hey, Dr. Joe here, and I got a special live stream that I'm doing for this Wealth Wednesday. And I thought I'd do a topic which is near and dear to my heart, which is finding and screening tenants, and talk about some of the best practices that sort of developed over the last 35 years or so. I've been a landlord, and I can categorically say that if you don't get this correct, i.e., getting the right person in your house, you are setting yourself up for failure. Most of the problems that you're going to experience as a landlord, most of them, probably 80%, is just down to the fact that you've just got the wrong person in your house. Yeah, problems are going to occur. The roof may leak, the electrical systems may break down or whatever it is. But most of the problems, day-to-day headaches that you're going to get is due to tenant-related issues, and so the importance of tenant screening and selection becomes very, very important. And hopefully, by listening to this live stream, you'll get some good information, helpful tips, and help you avoid making what I call unnecessary mistakes. But I do want to say that for those who are interested and want to get more details about tenant screening, I have developed a on-demand course. I call it the screening playbook, how to really do this right. And it goes to more details. There's 8 modules, 61 lessons, quite a bit of video. That will help you if you want to take this seriously, and if you want to do this right based on my wisdoms and mistakes that I've made. Okay, so let's get going and go into a bit more detail about what we're going to talk about today. So I suppose the question about landlord is really, what is tenant screening and why is it crucial to your success? Let me answer that basic level question. Why is tenant screening crucial to your success? I suppose more specifically, the question is, how does effective tenant screening safeguard your investment and maximizes your profitability? How does effective tenant screening safeguard your investment and maximize your profitability? So the get-go is this: you're an investor, you bought a house, you may have done through a BRRRR process, or you may have at some point you've acquired this property and your goal is to hold on to it for a long time, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, or whatever it is. Now, my position is that if you have a tenant from hell, if you have a difficult tenant that's constantly causing problems, doesn't pay your rent, causes damage, nonstop drama, at some point you're going to say enough is enough, and you're going to bail out. And so you're going to, leave, sell the house, wave your hand in disgust, and you're done. And so on. So it really, really becomes important that you take this subject very, very seriously as a real estate investor, because it directly impacts several things. It impacts your cash flow, impacts your property maintenance, your peace of mind. Because a reliable tenant, this is a good tenant, which I'll define later on as a tier 1 tenant, means that you'll have steady income, reduced wear and tear on your property, and also you have fewer vacancies, you have less turnover. Okay. Conversely, a poor tenant, a difficult tenant, I won't call them necessarily a tenant from hell, but just a difficult tenant, can lead to missed rents. They don't pay you, costly repairs, they damage your property, and time-consuming evictions, which can be very, very expensive. So by focusing on finding and screening quality tenants, you can minimize risk and create what I call, a solid foundation for your long-term success. Okay, so this process involves more than just filling a vacancy. It's really about carefully evaluating prospects and potential tenants to ensure that they meet not just your financial, but also behavioral criteria that you've established. Okay, financial is important, but behavioral, how they conduct themselves, is also just as important. You want to make sure that they align with your goals as a landlord. So successful investors, successful landlords understand that tenant screening is not an area where you can afford to cut corners. Okay, throughout this live stream, and we'll explore key strategies and lessons learned from seasoned investors, my experience doing this for 35 years, to help you navigate the challenges associated with tenant screening. And also, I'm going to identify red flags, things that you need to look out for. That will help you avoid mistakes and also fostering good relationship with your tenants and so on. So that's where we're going to start off. So that's hopefully gives you an idea of why tenant screening is important. So let's get down to number one. I've broken this live stream into 6 parts. So number one is, how do you attract high quality tenants? How do you attract high quality tenants? I suppose the question is, what steps can you take to ensure your property appeals to reliable long-term tenants? I call these tier 1 tenants. These are tenants that are going to take care of your property, pay the rent, no drama, and hopefully will stay a long time. Tier 1 tenants is the name of the game. That's what I want. I think that's what you want. And the question becomes, how can you attract these types of tenants? Okay, so attracting high quality tenants, tier 1 tenants, begins with really how you market your property. Well-crafted advertisements that highlight the key features of your property. How can you differentiate yourself from your competition? Will help set your property apart from your competition, especially in this sort of very highly competitive market we're in. So you want to obviously focus on key things: safety, proximity to desirable amenities, shopping, recreation, transportation, etc., and any upgrades or unique features about your house or your apartment that will differentiate it from your competition. So effective marketing platforms include things like online listings. There's quite a few of them. Social media is becoming very, very popular these days. And even local community boards, where you go to these grocery stores or community centers, and you can put a little ad on these boards about your property. So the presentation of your property also plays a significant role in your ability to attract these tier 1 and tenants, these desirable tenants. So properties that are clean, well maintained, and staged, yes, staged, attract more serious tenants. I stage my homes because I'm trying to differentiate myself from my competition. Most landlords do not stage. They have a vacant house, so tenants or prospective tenants have to figure out and visualize how their stuff can fit in their house. I don't do that. I have it staged, so that way they can see where the TV is going to go, where the couch is going to go, where the bed's going to go, will it fit, will it not fit, and so forth. All those questions are answered by staging your home, and it creates it sort of kind of inserts emotions into the property, as opposed to just having a vacant, empty property. The other thing you may want to consider is to have professional photos, and I also host open houses. I allow people to come over. I'm there, and I showcase the house and highlight all the great things about the property. Also highlight the great things about me as a landlord. Okay, so it's really important to set expectations in your ad, in your marketing, in your communications about what you're looking for, what you're not looking for, and the type of tenant that you're desiring, and what they can expect from you as a landlord. So finally, consider any incentives that you may want to offer to attract tenants. Things like including the utilities, if it makes sense. I don't include utilities in my house, but you may want to if you want to, but I don't recommend it. And you may offer flexible terms and so on. So it could be things that you can do to make your property stand out, any incentives that you can offer. So while these incentives may cost you up front, they can pay off by reducing vacancy times and also allowing you to attract the desirable tenants. Okay, so that's number one, associated with how do you attract quality tenants. Now, number two is what makes a strong tenant applications. Okay, so you've got the house, you got open house, and people come over, and at some point, hopefully, they're going to fill an application. So what makes a strong tenant application? I suppose the question is, how can you identify best candidates from these applications? Assuming you have multiple applications, cross my fingers, hopefully you do, then you're going to have to figure out which is the best candidate out of all those applicants that have applied, or prospects that have applied. So that's what we're going to talk about next. So A strong tenant application is a key indicator, in my opinion, of reliability. Look for complete applications from their prospects. That include things like proof of income, employment verification, and also their rental history, and also references if you have those things. So these documents provide a snapshot of the tenant's financial stability and also their past behavior. I say it's really important to go through the application with the tenant to make sure it's complete, because many times tenants just kind of browse through and don't fill out everything or leave gaps in the application and so forth. So I want to make sure that everything is there, and I go through the application with the tenant. Because an incomplete application, on the other hand, it can cause and lead to what I call red flags. Many successful investors use standardized application forms. You can get those, online or whatever. I even have a rental application which is 8 pages long that you can subscribe and buy. And but the idea is to have consistency and fairness in terms of the information that you're collecting. So you also allows you to avoid fair housing issues or fair housing challenges or laws that you may not comply with. So additionally, also, you may want to gather information about previous landlords in addition to current landlords. Current landlords may have their own hidden agenda. Oh, this tenant is great. They're so good that, I'll help you move them out tonight, and so on. They're that good, huh? Yeah, right. So previous landlords obviously have, got rid of the problem if there was a problem. And hopefully, they can tell you the real deal, and how that person conducted it, whether they paid the rent on time, whether they took care of the property, whether they got a security deposit back, and things like that. So so make sure you get information about previous landlords, previous rental history, and you may also want to leverage on some of these tenant screening tools that are out there that can streamline the process, making it easier to kind of collect and analyze application. Some people like them. I'm not a great fan of them. These online applications where you can go in and enter information, and then the algorithm spits out a decision whether to go or no go. I'm not a great fan of that, but again, they're out there. Who am I? I don't use them. I like to have physical eyeball to eyeball communication with people, ask questions. They can give them a chance to explain situations and things like that. I just like that personal touch, because we're dealing with a 5, 10, 15, 20-year relationship. And so I'm okay with taking a few more minutes, a couple of hours, a few extra hours up front, because it may save me a lot of time and headaches in the future. So some of these platforms, they do integrate things like credit and background checks, and for you to review and help you make decisions. So that's number 2. What makes a strong tenant application? And number 3, I want to talk about is how can you identify red flags? Red flags during the screen. So the person's filled the application out. They're looking good. They've told you all the stuff you want to hear. And you're going to start going through the process of figuring out and checking out their history. Okay, so a question that I suppose you may want to ask is this, which is what are the warning signs to watch for when evaluating potential tenants? What are some of the warning signs to watch for when evaluating potential tenants? Well, spotting red flags early in the screening process can save you a lot of time and heartache, and avoid future problems. Common red flags include things like gaps in their rental history, unverifiable income, or a reluctance to provide references, rental history, landlords, employment history, and things like that. Tenants with frequent evictions or unresolved disputes with previous landlords also, in my experience, pose potential risks as well. However, not all red flags are deal breakers. Yeah, there are some discretions that you can apply. So it's therefore important to understand the context in which the problem occurred. And that's why I like the, face-to-face, because they can explain maybe something that's happened in the past, and which an algorithm doesn't allow for. Okay, so for example, a short gap in the rental history may be due to relocation or a life change that occurred rather than just being irresponsible. Okay, so open communications with applicants, in my experience, it can clarify any concerns that you may have, while also maintaining a fair evaluation process. So balancing thoroughness with compliance is also very important. So avoid questions or practices that could backfire against you and violate fair housing laws, and ensure that your criteria is you know correctly applied consistently across the board for all applicants. Fair housing is very important. There's certain things you can and can't do. There are certain protected classes, and at the federal level, the state level, the local level, that you must understand, and you have to treat people equally and be in compliance with fair housing laws across the board. So that's number three, and kind of just give you a recap where we are so far. So far I've talked about how do you attract high quality tenants, and then I talked about what makes a strong tenant application, and then thirdly, I've talked so far about how can you identify red flags during the screening process. So at this point, I just want to mention again, I do have the course, which is the tenant screening playbook, which goes into what I'm going to talk about in a lot more detail. There's 8 modules. There are 61 lessons, and there's quite a few videos. We go through the whole gamut of advertising, screening, open houses, how to conduct open houses, what to look for, the kind of questions to ask, signs to look for, and in order to attract these tier 1 tenants, these tenants that take care of your house, pay the rent, pleasant to deal with, and hopefully stay a long time. As the saying goes, wise landlords don't solve problems. They avoid problems. So it's good to solve problems, but why solve problems? Why just avoid problems in the first place? So why have problem tenants when you can just avoid them in the first place and have a more streamlined, successful operation? So that's what this course is designed to address. And you can purchase the course by going to the website www.screeningplaybook.com, www.screeningplaybook.com, and I do have a promotion right now. If you use the promo code WEALTH, 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 and there's a $200 discount from the price, and this is a special for you. And so check it out. Go to the website www.screeningplaybook.com. We get more information about the course. Again, it's 61 lessons, 8 modules, and lots of videos that will help you do this thing the right way so you avoid making unnecessary mistakes. Okay, so get back on to number 4. Okay, what's number 4? Number 4 is, what role does credit and background checking play? What role does credit and background checking play? And more importantly, or specifically, I suppose, how can you use credit and background checks to minimize risks? How can you use credit and background checks to minimize risk? That's the question. That's the bottom line, I suppose. One thing I must say is that some jurisdictions are kind of limiting what you can do in terms of information you can gather, whether it be criminal, whether it be eviction history, and so on. So make sure you understand what the laws are in your local area, in your state, to make sure you don't fall foul of those laws. Anyway, credit and background checks provide valuable insights into a tenant's financial health and also the rental suitability, I suppose. A credit report reveals tenants' payment history and any outstanding debts that they may have, while a background check can identify criminal records, evictions, or other issues that may impact your decision whether to rent to the person or not. Use these checks as part of a holistic evaluation. Again, life happens. People do make mistakes. So I do like to understand what happened. And, so they maybe can provide some additional context. And that may help me in making a decision and so on. So a low credit score alone shouldn't automatically disqualify somebody, especially if they have a strong rental history or a stable income flow. For example, for Section 8, most of the rent is paid for by the federal government, and they have AAA credit. And so if a tenant has, quote unquote, low credit score, that in itself may not be by itself say, I'm not going to rent to you. So again, use all these things in context. Instead, weigh the information alongside other factors to make an informed decision. So working with a reputable screening service ensures accuracy and compliance with regulations like the Fair Credit Reporting Act, FCRA. You want to be compliant with local, federal, and state laws. Transparency in the process with the applicants is also very, very important, and it fosters trust. And I just like to tell people up front, this is what I'm going to do as part of the screening process. I'm going to check A, B, C, D, E. If you're okay with that, fine, let's proceed. If you're not okay with it, it's not worth wasting your time and my time, because this is what we're going to do. So I like to have it all up front. And also it allows me to equalize or systemize the process. I apply that criteria across the board to everybody. And and so on. So it's just a lot easier. So that's number 4, which is what role does credit and background checking play? Now go to number 5 of 6, which is how do you ensure a fair and legal screening process? How do you ensure a fair and legal screening process? And I suppose more specifically, what steps can you take to maintain fairness and comply with regulations? What can you do to maintain fairness and comply with regulations? Well, maintaining obviously a fair and legal screening process protects both you and your tenants. You don't want to be sued because you didn't comply with federal, state, or local laws. There are testers out there, and their job is to make sure that you're not discriminating based on those protected classes that are out there. And if you do run afoul of some fair housing laws, the penalties can be severe, pretty hefty fines, and just headaches. It can be a very expensive process. So you just don't want to deal with that. Okay, so maintaining a fair and legal process protects you and also protects your assets and your well-being and your peace of mind. Familiarize yourself with local, state, and federal fair housing laws to avoid discriminatory practices. Ensure your screening criteria really are objective and applied equally to all applicants. And documentation also is very, very important. It's essential, in fact, for accountability. Just in case you're hauled off into court, you got to be able to prove that you didn't, go against any fair housing laws. So documentation is very, very important. Keep detailed records of each applicant's evaluation, including the reasons for acceptance or denial. Okay, this practice not only ensures transparency, but also provides a defense if your decision is ever challenged. Finally, treat interactions that you have with any prospects with professionalism and respect. A positive experience during the application process sets the tone for a strong landlord-tenant relationship. Okay, so it's really important that you comply with any laws at the federal, state, and local level. So that's number 5. And then finally, number 6 is how can you foster long-term relationship with your prospective tenants? You know me, I don't like turnover. I have tenants that stay 5, 10, 15, 20. My longest tenant so far is approaching 30 years. Can you believe that? And, so the question, I suppose, is this. What steps can you take? To ensure tenant satisfaction and tenant retention? Okay, so building strong relationships with your tenants, in my opinion, starts with open communications and proactive problem solving. Problems will occur, challenges will take place, and your job is to deal with them and communicate regularly, and hopefully be proactive in problem solving. Okay, address any maintenance issues and requests promptly, and keep tenants informed about any changes or updates to the property. Okay, offer incentives such as offering lease renewals, discounts, or small upgrades. These things, the simple things, can encourage tenants to want to stay longer. I invest in the relationship. I nurture the relationship with my tenants, and and do things which differentiate myself from my competition, because I don't want turnover. I want my tenants to stay a long time. I don't want them to leave, because turnovers are very, very expensive. They can cost you 1, 2, 3, 4 months lost income after all is said and done. So if your rent is $3,000, each turnover could cost you 3, 6, 9, 12,000 bucks after all is said and done. You got to paint the place again. You got to clean it again. You got no income coming through. You got to take time out of your schedule to go show the house, screen the tenants, and it's just a very expensive process. And that's the reason why I place so much emphasis in minimizing turnover. There are so many strategies that I use which I document in more detail in the course, the tenant screening playbook. So check that out. Okay, so anyway, long-term tenants reduce turnover costs and provide more stable cash flow. In my opinion, successful investors also conduct regular property inspections to ensure the property remains in good condition, with tenants taking care of your investment, also while showing tenants that you care about your property and their living environment. So these are some of the things, best practices. I want to kind of show, I mean, obviously we can go to a lot more detail, but I wanted to give you a brief summary of why it's important to take this very, very seriously. And, because if you can master this part, tenant screening and managing of the relationship with your tenants, you're on your way to becoming a successful buy and hold investor, a successful landlord. So in conclusion, why is tenant screening the cornerstone of your success? In my opinion, effective tenant screening is the foundation of a successful real estate portfolio. By attracting high quality tenants, implementing thorough screening processes, and fostering positive relationship with your tenants, you can minimize risks, and also you can maximize returns. So whether you're new to real estate investing or looking to refine your approach, mastering these practices as contained in this live stream will set you apart as a landlord and investor to your success as a successful, profitable landlord. So again, I've created the course, the Tenant Screening Playbook, or the Screening Mastery playbook. So it's out there. It's a really good course. It's on demand. It goes to a lot more detail than I've been able to do on this short summary. And it comprises 8 modules. There are 61 lessons. There are numerous videos, clips. There are questions, there are quizzes, there are tests that you can take to make sure that you understand. I spent quite a lot of time and effort putting this together because I think it's so important. If you nail this, you're going to survive as a long-term buy and hold investor, as a long-term landlord. If you don't do this, you're going to get so frustrated. You're going to throw your hands up in the air, disgust, frustration, and you're going to want out. So again, you can sign up at by going to my website, www.screeningplaybook.com, www.screeningplaybook.com, where you can get more information. And if you use the promo code WEALTH, 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 there is a $200 discount. And, so you may want to take advantage of that. It's a great course. I highly recommend it. And hopefully, you can avoid making mistakes, avoid problem tenants, avoid tenant from hell, and you can attract what I call tier 1 tenants. Tenants are going to take care of your property, pay the rent, pleasant to deal with, and hopefully stay a long time. So again, go to the website, www.screeningplaybook.com, use the promo code WEALTH, WEALTH, and for a $200 discount. And I will see you inside the course. To your success. Take care. Bye for now.